The Gathering Storm, Berlin, 1939. Berlin, September 1, 1939. The air smells of oil, rain, and gunmetal. Thunderheads hang low over the Wilhelmstrasse as black staff cars slice through puddles, wipers slapping like metronomes of war. Inside one of those cars, a tall, silver-haired officer adjusts the collar of his navy blue uniform. His name: Admiral Wilhelm Canaris, head of the Abwehr, the German military intelligence service. As the car halts before the Reich Chancellery, the driver's gloved hand snaps open the door. Canaris steps out, his polished boots striking the wet cobblestones. He looks up at the eagle and swastika crest looming over the entrance, the symbol of a regime he serves and despises. Inside, Adolf Hitler waits in his office, restless, pacing, his voice sharp as he speaks to gathered generals. "Poland has defied us for the last time," he snarls. "At dawn we strike." Canaris takes his place along the wall, silent, the perfect observer. He knows what this means. War is no longer an abstract threat, it begins tomorrow. Around him, the air hums with fanatic energy. Officers nod in fervent agreement. Göring laughs too loudly. Keitel, ever the loyal dog, scribbles note. But Canaris's eyes do not shine with the same fire. Behind his thin spectacles, something colder stirs, calculation, perhaps doubt. When the meeting ends, he lingers behind. Hitler glances at him. "Admiral," the Führer says curtly, "your agents will be vital. I trust you know what to do." Canaris bows. "Jawohl, mein Führer." But as he turns to leave, his gaze flicks briefly to the map of Europe sprawled across Hitler's desk. Red arrows piercing through Poland, then France, then England. He sees, with chilling clarity, the ruin that will follow. Back in the corridor, he exhales softly, almost inaudibly. His adjutant, Hans Oster, approaches. Orders from the Führer himself, Oster mutters, eyes darting. Canaris folds the papers and whispers, "Burn them." That night, as Berlin celebrates the invasion, Canaris sits alone in his office, listening to the BBC through a forbidden radio. The voice of London hisses through static, grim, resolute. He takes a sip of cognac and mutters, "This madman will destroy Germany." On his desk lies a small, worn crucifix, a relic from his naval days. He stares at it, then at the Abwehr seal on his briefcase. Two loyalties, both impossible to reconcile. Outside, the thunder breaks again. War has begun, and so has Canaris's secret war, a quiet campaign of conscience fought in the shadows of the Reich. The web of shadows, the Abwehr's double game. Berlin, 1940. The Reich's banners hang like blood-red curtains over the city, but inside the Abwehr headquarters on Terpitzhofer, the war feels quieter. Behind soundproof doors, typewriters chatter, telephones buzz, and couriers shuffle coded messages between departments. The Abwehr hums with the efficiency of a machine, one built for deception. Yet beneath its polished surface, its director, Admiral Wilhelm Canaris, is quietly reprogramming that machine to serve a very different master: his conscience. At precisely 8 a.m., Canaris enters his office. His footsteps are soft, almost hesitant, as he passes the portraits of German heroes, Bismarck, Moltke, and, recently added, Hitler himself. He never looks at the last one. Oster, his deputy, waits by the window. "Another directive from Himmler," he says, holding a sealed envelope. He wants all intelligence operations coordinated with the SS. Canaris's expression tightens. "Himmler wants control of everything," he murmurs. "Even our lies." He takes the envelope, tears it open, and reads. Then, calmly, he tosses it into the fireplace. "Our cooperation with the SS will be minimal." To the outside world, Canaris remains the model of Nazi discipline, loyal, methodical, indispensable. But his true work begins after the meeting's end, in the long hours of the night. In the archives, he has documents forged, papers granting safe passage to trusted agents, who are, in truth, Jews and political dissidents fleeing Germany. Through the Abwehr's global networks, Canaris provides them with false identities and neutral country route. Each operation is a small rebellion buried inside bureaucratic routine. He cultivates strange allies. Hans von Dohnanyi, the jurist who secretly documents Nazi crimes. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the theologian who dreams of a Germany redeemed. And a growing circle of officers and diplomats, men who whisper of a coup, of ending the madness before it consumes them all. Yet Canaris never fully declares his allegiance. He remains the spider at the center of a web, pulling threads, obscuring his movements. Even to those who trust him, his motives are a mystery. One evening, during dinner with a visiting British double agent in Madrid, Canaris raises his glass. "You must understand," he says softly, "not all of us are Nazis." The words are delivered with the faintest tremor, a signal hidden in civility. Later, in his hotel room, he opens a leather case marked Top Secret, Abwehr Western Command. Inside are microfilms, reports of German troop strengths, U-boat deployments, invasion timetables. He stares at them, then hides them inside the lining of his coat. Tomorrow, those films will pass to British hands via the Spanish underground. He stands before the window, looking out over the darkened city. "If I must betray," he whispers, "let it be evil I betray." But even as he moves in secret, the shadows around him grow denser. The SS has begun watching the Abwehr. Himmler smells disloyalty. And in Berlin's cold nights, men are vanishing without explanation. Canaris knows it is only a matter of time before the hunter becomes the hunted. The resistance within, Operation Valkyrie's quiet architect. Berlin, late 1942. Winter gnaws at the city like a starving wolf. Inside the Abwehr compound, frost veins the windowpanes. Typewriters rattle in rhythm with the cold. The war has turned eastward, and the reports from Stalingrad are grim. Men vanish into the snow by the thousands. Yet amid the ruin, a secret hope flickers, the belief that Hitler can still be stopped. Canaris sits at his desk, reviewing intercepted telegrams. Across from him stands Colonel Claus von Stauffenberg, his sleeve pinned neatly where his right arm once was. The young officer's eyes burn with moral fury. "Germany is bleeding to death, Admiral," he says. "We must act, before there's nothing left to save." Canaris studies him carefully. Stauffenberg is bold, perhaps too bold, but necessary. "You understand," Canaris replies softly, "what you're proposing is not merely treason. It is damnation, if we fail." "We're already damned," Stauffenberg answers. The room falls silent except for the faint ticking of the wall clock, the sound of time running out. From that day, the Abwehr becomes more than an intelligence agency. It becomes a sanctuary. Secret meetings unfold in the dim glow of desk lamps, maps spread across tables, hands tracing the outline of Germany's future, one without Hitler. Hans Oster drafts contingency plans disguised as logistics report. Dohnanyi codes messages to foreign governments, probing for Allied terms of surrender. And Canaris, always the cautious spider, weaves cover stories for every act of insubordination, transferring conspirators to harmless posts, destroying incriminating files before the SS can reach them. Yet even as he aids them, he keeps his distance. His resistance is one of subversion, not open revolt. "I am no assassin," he tells Oster one evening, staring into a tumbler of whiskey. "My weapon is silence and the truth." Still, he provides the lifeline that keeps Operation Valkyrie alive. Through Abwehr channels, forged papers and passes allow conspirators to move freely. Ammunition shipments, lost on paper, quietly find their way into rebel hands. In March 1943, Canaris is briefed on the first attempt to kill Hitler. The Smolensk bomb plot. A British-made explosive, hidden in a bottle of Cointreau, fails to detonate aboard Hitler's plane. The Führer survives, oblivious. That night, Canaris receives the news in his study. He does not curse or sigh. He simply leans back and mutters, "The devil has his guardian angels." Then, quietly, he takes up his pen and writes a memorandum warning that further recklessness will doom us all. He cannot know how prophetic those words will become. By 1944, the walls close in. Himmler's SS grows stronger, the Gestapo hungrier. Rumors circulate that the Abwehr is infected with defeatists. And through it all, Canaris walks the halls like a ghost, serene, courteous, yet hunted by the knowledge that his game is nearly over. Outside, Berlin trembles beneath Allied bombs. Inside, men whisper of July 20th, the day the world might change. The fall of the Abwehr, betrayal and reckoning. Berlin, February 1944. The city no longer sleeps. Bombers drone overhead each night, their engines a distant thunder. Buildings burn like torches across the skyline, but inside the Reich main security office, another kind of fire spreads, suspicion. Himmler and his enforcer, Ernst Kaltenbrunner, have begun dissecting the Abwehr piece by piece. Files vanish. Agents disappear. Interrogations stretch deep into the night. The SS, once rivals, now tighten the noose around Canaris's empire. In the dim office on Terpitzhofer, Canaris sits with Hans Oster across a table littered with shredded reports. His face, once calm and sharp, looks drawn, sleepless. "They're folding us into the SS," Oster says bitterly. "Military intelligence, swallowed whole." Canaris nods. "It was inevitable." He reaches into his drawer and produces a small iron cross, setting it on the table. "A lifetime of service," he murmurs. "And for what?" "To serve madmen." He lights a cigarette, the smoke curling in the half-darkness. His eyes drift toward the crucifix pinned to the wall. "Hans," he says quietly, "we've done what we could. If they come for us, do not resist. Speak nothing. Burn everything." By April, the Abwehr is dissolved. Himmler claims direct control over German intelligence. The Gestapo takes over the offices, the typewriters, the archives, and begins hunting its former masters. Canaris is reassigned to a meaningless post, Chief of Special Duties, an elegant exile. His new office is small, airless, stripped of authority. Yet even here, his defiance continues. When the SS demands he turn over the names of his foreign informants, he hands them a list of fabricated agents, a final gesture of misdirection. But the ground beneath him is crumbling. The July 20th plot, the attempt to assassinate Hitler, erupts like a thunderclap. Bomb, smoke, chaos. Hitler survives. The Führer's fury ignites a nationwide purge. Oster is arrested within hours. Dohnanyi follows. Bonhoeffer too. One by one, Canaris's circle collapses. For weeks, he remains untouched, protected by his reputation, his age, and Hitler's lingering belief that the Admiral would never betray me. But fate, like war, has its own timetable. Late one evening, an SS officer arrives with a sealed folder. Canaris opens it and sees, inside, the transcript of a Gestapo raid, coded letters, intercepted notes, fragments of his secret war. One entry bears his own signature. The officer's voice is clinical. "The Führer has lost confidence in you, Herr Admiral." 2 days later, Canaris is placed under house arrest. His office is sealed. The crucifix is taken from his wall. From the window of his small residence in the Bavarian Alps, he watches the snow fall, silent, endless, merciless. His last act before they take him away is to tear a single page from his journal and slip it into his coat. On it, in careful handwriting, are 6 words. "In the end, I served the truth." The End of the Spy, Flossenburg, April 1945. Flossenburg Concentration Camp, April 8, 1945. Dawn cuts through the mist like a blade. The war is nearly lost. Allied bombers rumble overhead, and the once mighty Reich is collapsing into dust. But within the electrified fences of this camp, time stands still. The air reeks of oil, sweat, and decay. Guards shout in clipped tones, dogs bark in the distance, and from the barracks comes the low murmur of men waiting for the inevitable. In a small, dimly lit cell, Admiral Wilhelm Canaris sits on a wooden bench, his wrists bound loosely in rope. His uniform is gone, replaced by tattered rags. His silver hair hangs in unkempt strands, but his bearing, straight-backed, composed, remains unmistakably naval. Even here, stripped of title and command, he is every inch the officer. Through the bars, he hears the footsteps of SS General Wilhelm Keitel, come to oversee the execution. The irony is unbearable. Keitel, the same man who once nodded along to Hitler's delusions in that Berlin meeting 6 years ago. Canaris had warned him then. He had warned them all. The door opens. A guard steps in, holding a single sheet of paper. The sentence is read aloud, voice flat, mechanical. By order of the Führer, Wilhelm Canaris is condemned to death for treason against the German state. Canaris nods once. The German state, he murmurs, or the men who destroyed it? They drag him from the cell into the yard, where the morning fog clings to the ground. There, 3 other prisoners await, Hans Oster, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and Karl Sack. Friends, allies, co-conspirators. They exchange brief glances, no words. Words have become meaningless here. A camp doctor, weary and hollow-eyed, supervises the hangings. The gallows are crude, meat hooks bolted to wooden beams. The SS guards make notes in their ledgers as though logging an inventory. Canaris steps forward without hesitation. When the noose is slipped around his neck, he straightens, eyes fixed on the horizon where faint artillery flashes light the clouds. "May God forgive Germany," he whispers, "and may history forgive us." The lever is pulled. It is over in seconds. The last act of a man who fought his war not with guns or orders, but with conscience and deception. Hours later, Allied troops advance toward Flossenburg. The SS begins burning documents, destroying records. But one notebook, hidden in a crack behind Canaris's cell, survives. In it are fragments of his thoughts, prayers, confessions, and one final line written in trembling ink. "I fought the wrong enemy, until I realized the enemy was within." As the camp falls silent under the boots of the liberators, a cold wind passes over the gallows. The war will end in weeks, but the memory of the admiral who defied the Führer will linger, a whisper among the ruins. Wilhelm Canaris, sailor, spy, traitor, patriot. A man who served the Reich's uniform while secretly fighting for its soul. Ende.